Hello, everyone. This is Gregory, and I'd like to welcome you to our podcast of You're Too Valuable. We're looking at a deep dive into burnout, quiet quitting, and surviving the grind. I am Gregory. I'm one of the HR professionals part of this podcast, or one of the hosts that's an HR professional part of this podcast. I've been doing HR for about 20 years now. Kind of enjoy it, kind of don't. It's one of those things that's always got its goods and the bad. I'd like to let my other hosts introduce themselves.
Hey y'all, my name is Jesse, and I work in hospitality operations. I've been doing that ever since I went to college for culinary arts and food and beverage management. Got my first job as a food and beverage manager right out of college, and opening a new hotel. Um, I've been doing operations for over 20 years, and see a little bit of all departments of the hotel, and really enjoy taking care of the guests and taking care of the employees in the hotel. But the inside politics sometimes in hotels can be quite ridiculous at times. So I'm looking
I
forward
think
to.
that's in any job there, Jesse, not just hotels, but go ahead.
Yeah, sometimes grass isn't greener on the inside, I hear. Um, and so I'm looking forward to talking about the ins and outs of the operations in the hospitality business.
Hey guys, I'm Robbie Rainey. I come from 20 years in telecommunications, both in sales and leadership, Fortune 500 companies. I've seen it all. In the last 2.5 years, I've quit my position in a mid-level manager and senior level manager position to start my own company. And currently I help people with coaching, executive level coaching, career coaching, development. And I still hear some of the horror stories that we're going to be discussing throughout this podcast. So today we're going to be talking about why unemployment feels rigged. And I think that this particular topic kind of holds a very special place in the three of our hearts from different perspectives. Greg and I started out working together 20 years ago in telecommunications in a retail store, Denver, Colorado.
Yeah,
We've been
like
talking
forever ago, actually.
we've been talking shit for 20 years, and
Hey! We
still
got to keep the language clean around here, okay? Have HR. I got to make sure we keep it clean.
But I've known Jesse just as long. We've spent plenty of time having conversations professionally, personally. So we have the camaraderie, we have the experience, just different ladders that we've climbed, and we're excited to bring this podcast to you.
Yeah, I know that unemployment can seem like a really daunting task, and it is for a lot of people. It even is for like us as a employer. But on my own personal experiences, I've had to take unemployment a couple of times, and it's never a fun thing. And it always just seems like it takes forever to get set up and to get approved. And that's the kind of thing that kind of drives me nuts about it. Is just it it just takes forever. Have you all had that experience too?
I mean, from my experience, it's 100% set up to deter people. I mean, I work with people all the time that have been laid off from a company that just recorded record profits last year, and just I tell people, get that security net so you can not just go try to secure the first job that's available. Let's get you that safety net to get you what you want to be doing, so you're not wasting time. And just the level of headaches and horror stories I hear on a consistent basis is pretty crazy.
Yes, especially when the employer has a option to make an appeal when an employer files. It's people. That's frustrating thing that happens a lot of times, especially when the companies pay into that unemployment insurance. When they do get a claim that ends up going through, and if they don't fight it and the person does get awarded unemployment. A lot of people think that the business is getting charged directly for that. That's not how it works. They've already poured money into a fund into the state to have that available. The thing that on the employer side that can happen though is it can affect your rate. So if you have more employees
big time.
Getting onto it, that's the reason why a lot of companies try to fight it, is because their insurance rate can go up.
And that's actually a really good point, Jesse, is that it takes a lot from the employer side. Yes, we pay into it, but also the employer pays into it. And a lot of people don't know that it's not just your money that you're paying into for unemployment insurance. It's actually the company's money as well. And the company makes a substantial amount of payments each quarter to your state's unemployment agency that does that. So, from an employer's perspective, I'm lucky that I've had to actually do both sides. So on an employer side, it's quite daunting. You do have to register with every state that you go into and make sure that you're all set up and ready to go. Then from there, you have to make your quarterly filings. When we do your quarterly filings, it allows you to state what the actual employee made and how much they paid into unemployment, and then also that goes into their system, and then the unemployment agency sends an invoice to your employer. So if you're not aware of that, that's kind of how it works on that side. From there, let's say Robbie or Jesse or we actually submit an unemployment claim. Where does it go from there? Well, we as an employer, we kind of get a breakdown of who is applying and what they applied for. And, I think it's kind of funny because whenever I've applied for unemployment myself, you have like all these questions and you're getting asked over and over and over again, the same questions. Have y'all had that same problem where you just had to answer the same question over and over and over again?
Yes.
I will have to say that as an employer, we do the same thing. We have to answer those questions over and over again. And even though you may have put it in there, we still have to go back and validate your information. So we get that notification and then we go from there and we see what you put in there, and then we can see what answers that we need to answer, or the questions that we need to answer.
Yeah. What I'll say is, from my perspective, yes, I understand that it's difficult for employers to be fully prepared, but I think the system in its entirety is broken. Quite frankly, from my perspective, just based on some of the stories that I've heard, people that I've worked with, it's almost as if the unemployment office is just an extension of your corporate HR department.
Okay, you're going to have to explain that to me, because I have to disagree a little bit on that, but I want to hear what you have to say and what kind of funny jokes you have.
So, just realistically, I want you to think about it from the perspective of somebody that has a family. They've got $2,500 a month mortgage. They've got 2 cars. They've got, kids to feed, all of these things. And that's a pretty big chunk of the population. And the breadwinner gets laid off after their company just recorded record layoff or record profits. Let me ask you a question. How is that? It doesn't seem like a system that's really meant to benefit the working class. I've seen people go on the brink of complete financial ruin, trying to get through this system, and just the level of anxiety and depression that stems from this system is absolute insanity to me. And that's kind of where I come from, is these people have dedicated their entire lives and they get laid off, and you have to have, the Declaration of Independence. You've got to have, it's all these different documents ready to go. And, you're just wondering how you're going to be able to keep the internet on to continue this monologue with the unemployment office. It's crazy. I call me crazy, but I feel like this is something that we need to fix, being the wealthiest nation in the world?
Well, I don't know. I have to get Jesse's take on that. Do you think it's really almost like supposedly rigged against the actual employee or only towards the employer?
For me, it's just the amount of hoops that you have to jump through. My last employer, I am on unemployment currently and in between jobs right now. And my last employer was trying to use some things that had happened after I had been let go to justify me not getting unemployment and things that had nothing to do with the reason that I was let go, and they just put up a fight. There right now it's estimated 57% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, and I tried to mediate with my last employer and work things out, and they just weren't in a position to do that, I guess. And they were fully aware that I was in the process of buying a house. And they did try to fight it, and had to make some substantiated claims back against them to show, it feels like it's the system is not set up for success. I shouldn't have to get on my knees and beg for something that's been paid by both myself and my company while I've been working, just to carry me through until I get this next position.
Yeah, and okay, so I'm going to try to kind of take it back just a little bit towards the personal aspect of it and more towards the business side. And mind you, I am 100%, well, I can't say 100. I'm mostly for employees or team members.
Sounds like typical HR, huh?
Oh boy, here we go. As part of like HR / people and culture, whatever you want to call it these days, you kind of have to take out the personal aspect of it. I know this is going to probably sound really bad, and I don't want it to sound bad. That people always say that, and then of course what they say comes out as bad. I don't care about your life. I don't care about what's going on in your life. As a person, as Gregory, 100%, I care about you. As a company, I have to care about us as a company, and that's a very fine line for somebody who is in HR. Because, yes, we're there for the company. We are hired by the company. We're not hired by employers or employees. We're hired by the company. And I have to take all types or all aspects of the situation, and I have to take any emotional part of it. And,
boy, have we come up with some good topics because of that mentality to talk about in this podcast.
Greg's working on becoming the internet's favorite podcast host in just his first episode.
I knew being with these two, it was going to be a joy because I have to come up as the evil HR person, and this is crazy. And so now going on the employee, or just as a person who's filed for unemployment, yeah, I get it. Unemployment sucks. It's not a lot. It doesn't pay you the bills that it you wish it wants to. I have to also look at it on my point of view of I'm not supposed to be on unemployment for so long. I'm supposed to be on it for a very limited time. And this is not supposed to be my employer. It's not supposed to pay all of my bills. It's supposed to help me get through.
Totally agree.
And that's what I think a lot of people tend to think is, oh, this is going to take the place of all of my income.
So,
sure.
Now, let me ask you a question, Greg, just really quickly. Like, if that's the case, if that's supposed to be that stepping stone, wouldn't it make more sense to get them that safety net so they can focus more on the aspect of looking for a new job? I mean, it just...
What do you mean?
there's so much effort. Like, I don't know if you've ever tried to make a phone call to an unemployment office,
Yes,
but
I have.
I mean, sometimes the machine will just tell you, "Sorry, we're not taking calls right now."
Yeah.
Queue is
Like,
full.
okay, so now this becomes a full-time job, just trying to get, the basis of making ends meet, and
Especially
it's
when you
become
don't know
an
their time frame. When you
yeah.
don't
You
know
need
their
proof that
time
you were
frame and how long they're taking to process stuff, that can be hard.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you need proof that you're laid off, but you're unemployed, but also able to work, but also not able to work.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I think that this is an opportunity for us to really look at, ways to make this better. I mean, are we going to be able to do anything about it? Not necessarily, but I think that, it's a conversation that needs to be had, and I'm glad that this is our first topic.
Well, I would also, I see where you're coming from because there is a lot of red tape. And as somebody who has had to appeal and actually been on the appellant side, and I've had to appeal an award of unemployment to somebody and had that taken away from them, it can be drastic. And it's also very, very convoluted. There's a lot that happens in between those, and from when you've actually been able to submit your claim compared to when we, the employer, get it, and then all the appeals. And I understand where you're coming from, Robbie. It does suck, and I think it does need some tweaking. What, as we in a business, if you're going to come to me with a complaint, come to me with a resolution.
Well, that's why we're here today, Greg. We're
Oh
going to
boy.
figure it out. We're going to put our heads down and come together.
I don't know. I don't
I
want to
thought
figure it
HR
out.
is
That's too
supposed
much
to
of a
have.
responsibility.
I thought HR was supposed to have all the answers, but that's just me.
Oh, no, no, no. We do not have all of the answers. We have more questions than answers.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So, Greg, can you break it down for us to kind of talk about who approves it, how you investigate claims, talk about your perspective, because I am genuinely interested to learn it from human resources perspective as much as it gives me the ick.
Yeah, I can try to go into a little bit of detail in it. Sometimes it's a little bit convoluted on the backside. I kind of said that word a number of times, so I'm going to stop saying it, hopefully. You normally, at a company, there's normally one person who does all of the unemployment claims. And of course, it is somebody that generally is on your human resources or people and culture team, and somebody who wants to take ownership of that. It is a lot. It's a lot of to ask of that person because there's also a lot of digging that goes on involved with that. So, let's say you get laid off. You have to go and apply. You have to go and apply for unemployment, and then we also have to approve that or say that you were laid off. So we receive that information from the unemployment system via email. We log in. In Colorado, it's called the Unemployment Plus Employer Portal. And so we actually go in and we log into the system. We see who's on unemployment, who's approved, who's applied, all of this stuff. Then from there, we can go into your application, see what you said, what's going on, and then we have to fill out all of the information. When it comes to all the different types of separations from a company, you have your terminations, you have your separations, you have your resignations. Unfortunately, you have people who passed away, and then you also have people who were laid off, and you have those that were terminated, and so you get all of those different types of them. Now, if we say that you were terminated for cause, then we're going to appeal that because we think that you did not do something. And okay, let me preface this saying by we. We as in any company, this is my general idea. I'm not speaking on anybody, but we as a
The
company,
Brotherhood of HR.
oh boy, here we go again. I'm going to say that a lot in all of these podcasts. And here we go.
Go ahead,
Because
brother.
Oh, we are a family here. Okay,
Yeah.
we are a family.
Oh, there it is. That's where the ick. I felt the ick. I appreciate that. That just gave me the heebie-jeebies a little bit.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I don't miss that at all. Go ahead.
So we go through the system, and then we appeal it. Then you receive the paperwork saying that it's appealed, and you can go in and submit your information. We submit ours, and then we have a hearing. With that hearing, you talk to a hearing officer. You can bring anybody that you want to put in as a witness. The company can as well, and then the hearing officer makes that determination. After that determination, there is also one more final appeal that you can submit additional information if something was found or things weren't looked at properly. And so it is a time-consuming thing. And
Let me ask you a question, Greg. Let me interject here really quickly. So, if you were to take a look at all of your HR positions throughout the years, and I want you to just do a high-level percentile, how many unemployment cases have you fought in comparison to the ones that you just let go through without any sort of objection?
That's going to be a kind of an interesting number, and the reason for that is because of the amount of layoffs that I had to do. I actually was working for a company during the middle of COVID, and so during the middle of COVID, we actually had to lay off the entire workforce, mostly about 95% of the workforce. So, of course, those we didn't want to fight against. So,
yeah,
I want to make sure that was the case. So, I would say if you take out the I can't even say right now, the anomalies, is that right? Anomalies?
Anomalies?
Yes. I would say very few, maybe like 20%. It's not many.
Okay.
I know those who've probably been fought over, I think Jesse has, based on what he was talking about earlier. It kind of seems like all of them get them, but they don't.
Yeah. It's crazy because I've never been on unemployment. I've applied before, but I'm like, this is taking more time than just going to find another job. And that's what they're really hoping for. I can tell you just the hoops. So in the state of Nevada, which is where I'm at, I'll say that the process is you go to this online portal, you fill out the information, and it just kind of sits purgatory. You don't have any idea if it's actually processed. It says in review. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, you get a letter in the mail indicating that you have a hearing scheduled a month out. So, I mean, you're talking a month and a half before you even get approved for it.
Yeah. I think Jesse's actually gone through that recently, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What was that like? Can you let us know?
Of which part?
Exactly what Robbie was just going through about, waiting, and then you have
right.
You have this court, or not necessarily court, but hearing date that you have to go to.
So the hearing dates usually come up when I've never had to go through one of those, but they only come up, in my knowledge, when if an employee has filed, the employer responds and the state sides with the employer, then the employee can file a appeal hearing and then go through that. But I've never had to go through one of those, thankfully. But with my last employer, they did respond and made a pretty substantial response with some claims in there of things that happened after I was already let go. And I kept calling to unemployment, trying to get through, couldn't get through. And when I finally did, then the timeline was explained to me where they were at, which that's the other thing, depending on caseloads and the number of employees that unemployment has working can differ. And to the employee, you're never aware of that until you can get a hold of someone. So that was the most frustrating thing, is not knowing unemployment's timeline of where they were at in their caseload. And then just with the back and forth, of course. So after I responded, then I had to wait again for unemployment to pick my case back up. Probably a different person than reviewed it the last time. So they have to look at all the initial notes and everything that came in. So I think, that if anything could be streamlined, could be a potential of at least having people working at unemployment stay on the same cases. But I feel with the back and forth, that just prolongs it, and bills are adding up and everything. One thing that Colorado did have that they had mentioned to me was if I ever got like a shut-off notice for any of my utilities, or a notice from my mortgage company, if I hadn't been having that paid, was they would prioritize the case and bump it up. So that's one thing.
So you have to be on
the
brink of financial ruin before they're going to help. I love that.
That's the other
thing. That just feels so warm and fuzzy. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like that definitely screams best country in the world. How about you guys?
Yeah,
exactly.
I can definitely understand that for sure. It boggles my mind on how much, and I think, Robert, you were talking about the red tape that you actually have to go through in order to figure it out. I know for me, when I was on unemployment a couple of times, I had to wait. I think it's like at least 3 weeks to a month before, anything was approved and not approved. And being on the employer side, I kind of understand how that could be. So it gives me that perspective, but it's just like, why does it take so long? And I've got rent, like you said earlier. I've got my car note, got insurance. I've got to pay my electricity bill and my internet bill, so I can deliver these podcasts to you guys, or to you folks out there. And so, I get that, and it really does. It sucks in that perspective. I don't know.
Well, I appreciate you giving us that feedback, Greg. I think that we have a lot of commonalities. I know you as a person, so I know that you and I kind of align. But you have to. Your entire job in HR is to protect the company, and that's what you're hired to do. And I understand that. Does that make you, a bad person? No. I mean, you're technically doing your job so you can continue to pay your bills. It's almost as if these systems are created to just keep us more and more divided. Needless to say, for the sake of time, let's transition a little bit and let's talk about, some of the weekly, like, ninja challenges that you have to go through. You're like an extreme ninja warrior challenges that you have to go through just to keep your unemployment. And just the
fun. I've had to deal with this on both sides too.
The constant reminders that if you falsify any information, you're going to jail, underneath the jail for taking $475 for the week. You know what I'm saying? So, it's really good stuff.
$475. I just realized that. That's a lot. I don't know where you're getting $475 from. But
I mean, it's all based on income.
Well, I remember whenever
I know the max.
Older, so,
Yeah, you're definitely older. So what I was gonna say, Greg.
I am the oldest one out of all these folks. So.
Oh yeah, you're definitely Granddad.
Both of us. Okay, you know what? Let's just move on. What were you gonna say, Robbie?
You got me all messed up, Granddaddy.
What
what I was going to say was, we just have to jump through like weekly job search logs. You have to record every little thing that you do. Technicalities. How many technicalities have you guys heard of or run into with unemployment? Just you left this day when you were supposed to leave this day. Like, I left because they told me to leave, and they just do these little things to really trip you up and ensure that you don't get payout. So
I'm anxious to hear what Jesse has to say on this one because he's currently in unemployment. What have you got to do?
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely the weekly logging of the jobs that you hired. It's like you got to track what you have to track. I mean, I know for you, Greg, you've had spreadsheets before where you're tracking the entire processes and stuff, and it's just like, I just want to apply to jobs and not have to, I mean, these days you got to be applying to a lot of jobs in order to hear back, and I could be getting up to 20, 30 jobs that I've applied to the week. If I'm not keeping track of that, like, how am I going to have to go back every week and enter in the company name and the title and that I applied and what date I did it, and
how you applied, remember?
And how I applied, then they still have the options, at least in Colorado, of applying by in person or over the phone. It's like, that's not very common these days.
There are people who still have to apply over the phone or in person. Those who are still going to work in our fast food, retail industries.
But even those industries, a lot of people, they're finding the jobs posted online when they go. Anybody that's starting their work, I mean, the first stop is most likely online. Who's hiring? What's hiring in my immediate area? So yeah, just the weekly certification. I get it so that it's not on a just set it and forget it thing, and they're making you diligent. The other thing that they track, at least in Colorado, is going onto their job board basically site, Connecting Colorado, and if they can see exact in your profile, which is linked to your unemployment claim, what days you logged in, and they want you to be logging into that consistently and looking at the jobs that they have posted as well, even though it's, to me, a pretty inundated website. And, there's just so many more great job boards out there online that could be utilized.
So what I'm hearing you say, Jesse, is they want you to be available, desperate, and psychic all at the same time?
Exactly. Yep.
I love this.
My ears are hurting right now listening to some of these things. But again, I've got to take the business side and I have to take my personal side of it. And this is just, it hurts sometimes to hear what you guys have to say.
What I'll say is, working with people in this current job market, this is probably the toughest job market that I've seen in my 20 years of working. And I can say with confidence that it's not getting better based on what I'm seeing. There are ways, but what I'm trying to allude to, Greg, is people already have the daunting task of trying to find work, but let's give you some additional rings of fire, like Johnny Cash sang, to jump through. And it's a dog and a pony show, and it's crazy.
Well, I think, and this is something that I'm hoping, I think we have it on one of our podcast lists coming up in the future, is like the job postings and how they are out there and how it went even during the pandemic and then how it is right now and just applying for jobs. And as Jesse was saying earlier, when I was on unemployment, I did a lot of job searching and a lot of applications, and it is very daunting. It is multiple people were like, yeah, it's a full time job looking for a job, and I think
Hmm.
so too. And hopefully we can talk about that a little bit later. But
Yep.
the unemployment process is definitely rough, to say the least.
Yeah. I mean, so I want to convert our conversation a little bit, and I want to talk about some of the misconceptions and the real talk that comes along with unemployment, and I want to get your guys' perspective. I'd like to. I hear all the time that people with these types of governmental safety nets, quote unquote, they're a handout. But Greg, I'd really like to know your perspective on that statement.
Yeah, I kind of fight myself without being too political in this situation of it being a handout and not being a handout. I fight myself on that both sides. I think that everyone needs some type of help every now and then, and to say that it's a handout and and you shouldn't have it, I think is bad or is wrong. Is it something that people take advantage of? Absolutely. I think everybody takes advantage of all kinds of things. Is unemployment one of those? Yes. And I think it's something that's necessary. Does it need improvement? 100%.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay.
What are you laughing at over there, Jesse? I saw him kind of laughing a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like we still need to have a successful system, and it just feels like it's something. It's not one that's and I felt that way for a lot of different government agencies. I mean, it
Yeah.
feels like that unemployment is not the only one that, in order to get assistance from our government with the programs that are already in place, it's not the only one that you have to jump through a bunch of hoops for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's already enough stress in people's lives just trying to make that transition. You're lucky if you get severance. You're not lucky if you don't get severance. And quite frankly, it just seems like a system that simply doesn't care, based
Oh,
on what's
dealing
required.
with, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. Dealing with severance on unemployment, you would not
Yeah.
believe all the hoops you have to follow through to go through severance.
And that's the other
And
thing, if I mow my neighbor's lawn for $20, they want me to report that. Like, let's talk about that for sure. Any other income that you supposedly owe or get help from, they want you to report it. And, compared to the amount that you're getting compared to what you were living off of while you were employed, that's vastly different numbers.
yeah. Now,
Greg, what are some things that? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, you go ahead. I'm still a little frustrated. It's so funny, but go ahead.
So, Greg, shoot me straight here. Whenever you've been in the process of terminating someone, have you asked them to sign things to make their journey through the unemployment line more difficult?
Personally, no. Have I seen it happen or heard of it happening before? Yeah, of course I have. And there are certain things that, as an employer and as an employee, you should and should not do. Something we can definitely talk about at a later time, going through
Hmm.
termination. Giving kind of an overview of that. Yes, and that goes back to the separation or the severance that you guys were just talking about.
Hmm.
In the state of Colorado, if you sign a severance agreement, that kind of waives your rights to anything, to file a complaint against the employer or to do anything in the legal system per se. Then
Yeah.
yes, you have to put that in, and as an employer, we actually have to say that yes, you did have to waive some rights. The good thing about that is that recently changed that allows you to uh, to collect all your unemployment benefits, and it does not affect the amount. It used to, doesn't anymore. But as far
Word
as
of advice.
I'm not going to say yes or no. I haven't personally done it because I try to be very ethical in my job. Not try. I am very.
It's not required. You are not required to sign anything to be eligible for unemployment. Don't let your employers ever tell you that. Greg, please back me up here. They are not required to sign any documentation.
No, you're not.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I wanted to know.
Yeah, no, you are not required to sign anything anytime, and that's even going beyond unemployment separation.
Absolutely. What I'd like to talk about is during the termination process, the impacts on mental health being made to prove you're unemployed enough. So, I want to talk a little bit about, the impact of being made to prove that you're in a position that you need unemployment and the impacts that actually has on people's mental health. Because I've seen it firsthand. It's very easy to get into that slippery slope of poor me. And while that sounds very insensitive, I want to talk about this should be a time that we're uplifting people and giving them the confidence to be functional members of society. And I think that it's a really taboo topic. Yeah, we've got our Mental Health Awareness Month. I feel like after that became a focus, my mental health started to decline rapidly in the corporate sector. So, needless to say, while recognizing it is great, I'm glad that we've got awareness for it. But it's a real fucking problem, and
language.
It's a real fucking problem, Greg. I just want you to know that this is near and dear to my heart. I'm a people's advocate. I'm an employee's advocate. Like, I've seen what companies do. They turn and burn. I see people, that have died and their name tags off the door before the body's cold. And they got a job posted on Monster.com. So, I just want to talk about like the real stigmas. Like, do I want to go back into the workplace? I see so many people struggle, like internally. They're like, do I want to put myself through that miserable hell again? Or do I want to try to find something with a little bit less pay that doesn't completely demoralize me as a human? What's your guys' perspective on that?
Yeah, for sure. On that front, I mean, you've already just been through a traumatic experience of being let go or laid off, or losing your job when things are already tight financially. That alone is traumatic and mentally tough when especially if you're confident in your job that you're working and don't think that anything like that is even possible to be on the horizon. And it hits and it takes a while for it to even set in. And then the questions, do start coming up about what you want in your next job. That's a big interview question that comes up for me is, what are you looking for in your next job? And I've asked it myself to really understand what environment the candidates that I'm looking at for positions are truthfully wanting to be, because we have lots of different industries and work environments that are available to us. And personalities don't necessarily match up those environments at the same point, especially now with the availability of many remote work positions or hybrid positions. We have even more options available to us, and That's fun. That's the funny part of it too. Uh, of the weekly certification questions is are you mentally able, or are you mentally available to work is one of the questions. And that 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 sometimes it's like, sure, I'm ready
Yeah.
to go, I'm ready to get back to into it, and some days it's like, not after I just went through that. Like, I'm concerned, I'm scared about what the next work environment might be. You want to think the best of it, but some days being unemployed and having a little bit more time to yourself to be thinking, it can be hard.
My heart goes out to those that have to transition out of a toxic, because I mean they show statistically and scientifically that people coming out of toxic work environments, they can take a while to really kind of get themselves out of that toxic mindset of just expecting the worst, constantly being burned out and just constantly exhausted, and your brain's kind of in that fight or flight mode, and thinking about going back into the workplace just gives levels of anxiety that I completely understand. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw that in there, but Greg, what you got for us?
Yeah, that was a little bit off in the left field with the going back in the workforce, but dealing with unemployment it's difficult. It's rough. We all know it. We've all dealt with it. If you haven't, you're consider yourself lucky because it's great. Uh, but to kind of wrap things up, I want to say that dealing with unemployment once again is a long process. Does it help you out? Yes. Does it actually do what it's supposed to do in its current phase? Yes. Is there improvement? I think so. Yeah. So I think that if you're going through any of those, feel free to reach out to somebody to help out with that. And I'm pretty sure someone is willing to help you.
Yeah, absolutely. Jesse, I'd like to get your perspective on, since you've recently gone through this, how to mentally prepare and advocate for yourself. What do you do?
Yep, definitely. Get someone on your side. Get a coach for you, or a good friend that's been through the process, that can help put a second eye on things. Get that resume updated. That's gonna make yourself feel a lot more confident, and have it reviewed, preferably by a job coach professional. Um, because they're going to really help you out, especially ones that are have worked on the back ends of applicant tracking systems that are in place. Because of the sheer amount of applicants that some companies get for these days, they have some pretty tight tracking systems in place, especially with the advancement of AI now, that are computers reading your resumes and kicking you out, so it can, for the recruiters, can make their jobs more streamlined, and so they're having not to review that hundreds or thousands of applications, getting the real candidates that are matching up to the job descriptions that they're posting for. So definitely make sure you have that support in your life to keep going every day and keep pushing every day, because it can get discouraging, especially when you start getting rejection letters and turn downs, and are having a lapse in getting interviews scheduled. It can become discouraging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I know that Greg, is the HR representative, with that experience representing the company. I've dedicated my life to helping career professionals, and some tips that I've got. If you have just an inkling that you have a boss that's got it out for you, you're constantly being threatened with performance improvement plans, anything like that, make sure you document everything. So some of the best advice that I can give to you is
CYA.
if you have a conversation with HR about behavior in the workplace or whatever the case is, make sure that you send a summary recap to HR and save those emails for yourself for future use.
I would say absolutely 100% to that. With BCC your personal email. Don't think that once things happen, you're going to be able to go back there and get your stuff, because your accesses and things get cut quick.
Yeah.
So true.
Just make sure you're on top of, the appeals process in unemployment. So make sure that you get all of the necessary documentation. Typically, it'll be denied because of a response from an employer. So have a good understanding of what they're claiming in their denial, and make sure you have supporting evidence to support your case. That's going to be the best thing that I can recommend to you, is just always have that paper trail. That's why every time you have a conversation with, your manager or an HR representative, there's always some sort of documentation. I think the big catchphrase is, if it's not written, it didn't happen. So you need to take the same perspective from protecting yourself as an employee. And that's what I've got. We're going to start to wrap up here and really get an idea of, what we can say to make this a better process. And Greg, I'd like you to kind of reflect about how the system is so broken.
Yeah, I think I said this before, and I'll kind of repeat it again. It's broken. Is it okay in its current form? Yes. Is it perfect? No. And I really don't know. As I think I said this earlier, as an HR or business professional, if you come with a problem, come with a resolution with it. It's something that I very much live to. And so I don't even know what kind of resolution I would have. And I think Jesse mentions AI earlier with ATS and things like that, or applicant tracking systems. I think as technology advances, I think it's going to get better. And at this point, it has, because we used to have to do everything via mail. I don't even know if y'all are old enough to even know that. The little things that you post on a little postage stamp, have to handwrite. Yeah, I know.
Back when HR operated with smoke signals, right, Greg?
Oh boy, no, nope. But no, I think it's still something that, just because you're laid off and you have to collect unemployment, doesn't mean that we don't value. And I don't know if the government would say that as well, but it happens to us all. So I think that's the best way.
Yeah, I'll say this. I tell each of my clients that is currently going through job search and the stresses, set yourself up a system, a little bit of a safety net, and really do your best to live your best life. Get out there, touch some grass, feel some sunshine.
Go fishing.
Go take a random road trip. Whatever the case is, to really center yourself and regain your composure, trying to go back into the workplace, because otherwise you're just setting yourself up for the perpetual cycle of misery. So that's really my best advice out there. Jesse, do you have any other advice that you'd like to give?
Yeah, definitely use that time to work on yourself, and go back. Reflect on what things that you could have been doing better. You know, we're apt to point out things real fast, and a lot of us do the pointing and have three fingers pointed right back at us, and we need to recognize too the things that we may could have been doing better, and um and try to do something as well. Look into some additional courses that are out there for development of your skills, and keep working on yourself while you're going through this process. It will only make the interviewing process easier. You know, practice with a friend as well, because once you get on those live interviews, if you're not up to shape on that, those can be difficult to get through, and you want to make a best impression.
Yeah,
it's a great talking point for gaps in a resume too. So that's a really good point, Jesse. Go ahead, Greg.
Nothing. I wanted to say I have enjoyed this with you guys today. It's been a lot of fun, and it's taken some time for us to get here, and a lot of stuff on the back end that you all will not know anything about. But I just wanted to say I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to the many, many more podcasts to come out with all of you guys. I'm actually let's see what Robbie has to say about our next podcast.
So next week we're going to be talking about quiet quitting. Is it lazy or is it strategic? It's a pretty big buzzword over the last couple of years, and I think it's a good segue from unemployment to really have a good conversation about, you know, ultimately it's really about not being too valuable, putting yourself in too valuable of a position to be promoted, and that's kind of the whole premise of what this podcast is. So you know, we really appreciate you guys listening, and want to make sure that, you know, we hear your unemployment horror stories. We'd love to get you to share some of your stories on our social media. You know, we'd love for you to subscribe and share. You know, we'd really like to start having guests come on our show and just have real conversation, unfiltered conversation, a little bit of shit talking here and there. But, you know, at the end of the day, we can have a good time and really build a community of people trying to navigate this crazy work environment. And I'm glad I get the opportunity to do this with both you guys. Follow us. I'm gonna post up our social media tags so you guys can go follow us and share us. And we look forward to many years to come talking about this very important topic.
And just remember, you're not too valuable. You are too valuable. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye, guys.